Hello and welcome back to No Remorse Woodworking. In this video I'll be making a new base for my bandsaw. To replace this base, my plan is to make a square of lumber at the bottom and one on the top, connect them with legs in the corners, and then two cross braces, because the bandsaw is not as the base of the bandsaw itself is not as wide as I would like it to be. I plan to do half lap joints on the corners and to then half lap the uprights into that corner so that I get a lot of structural stability. I'm using some pieces of wood that have something cut into them. I'll cut that off and then cut them to length. I plan to use a stop block on this side and cut them to 59 centimeters. To cut the half laps, I've set the blade to just under half the thickness of my pieces. I'd rather set the blade a little too low and then slice off a bit more either with the hand plane or with the chisel, than set it too high and cut too much off when I cut the half laps. I've also set up a stop block. And setting up a stop block, this is to cut the tenons on the uprights in the corners. As you can see, I've cut the tenons a little longer than the frame, but that's because I want to put a piece of plywood on top of both frames, and I want the uprights to go through the plywood as well. Now I need to trim off these ends and square everything up on both frames. I'll do one frame at a time, of course. I've got a very strong piece of 3/4 inch plywood here. It's fairly flat, it's fairly good, but using second-hand materials does bring its own problems. This piece of plywood has some holes in it. I could still use it, it will still be strong enough, but I have to be a bit more careful about the layout. I need two pieces that are roughly 60 by 60 centimeters. And I think I'll do that. I'll cut off a strip of 10 centimeters on each side. This will give me two nice strips that I can use for another project. And then I'll cut off a bit here at the bottom, which will also give me a nice piece of about 15 centimeters. I've long ago determined that if I want to cut something with my circular saw, I need to add 4.5 centimeters to the measurement I want to cut. And in this case, I want a 10 centimeter strip from this side. I'm simply using a board as a straight edge to guide the saw. I prefer using the circular saw for cutting large sheets. Dancing around with a big sheet of plywood, that's just too dangerous. I think I'll call it luck this time because I didn't plan on it. But one of the plywood boards, actually fits so well that I will only need to trim on one side. I'm setting up my fence, and here is an advantage of having a wooden fence. I've screwed on a strip of wood slightly higher than the plywood. This will allow the excess plywood to go under, and I'll set up so that this is flush with the far side of the blade. Now I just need to orient the frames, and for that I'm using this piece of OSB as a representation of the base, and I think this way should work very well. I just need to mark the corners and cut out the matching notches for these parts. It is actually going very well, and it's time to put on the casters. I'll be using these things. I don't know what they're called in English, but translated from Danish we call them French screws. Don't ask me why. As a bit of an afterthought, I'm putting in a long screw in each corner. So I just need to screw on the back and transfer the saw to the new base, and then it's done. There we go. Yay! Finished. And there we have it, a nice new base for my bandsaw with good casters, locking casters in the front, fixed casters in the back, enclosed, lots of space for jigs, paraphernalia, fences, etc. So all that remains for me to say is thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please leave a like and subscribe to get notified when I upload new videos. Thank you very much.